What is up, everybody? This is a glorious morning, isn't it? This is, it's weather, depending on what part of the area you're in, the weather is absolutely gorgeous today. It is a day to get outside. It is a day to enjoy life. It's a day to maybe get some decorations up. Listen, I'm in the mood, man. This is like COVID Christmas for me. I'm decorating for Christmas. I'm getting everything set because what's going to happen is if I don't do that, it's going to be like 20 degrees out when I'm trying to hang lights. So I am all in today. This is, again, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Listen, it's fantasy football. This is week 9. And there's so many different storylines that we have to talk about today, right? So we have so many instances where guys coming back from injury. And we talk about this all the time. But two guys this week I want to focus on, okay? And those two guys, Antonio Brown and Michael Thomas. What do we do? Let me tell you something. Antonio Brown, for all you people out there that think that maybe Antonio Brown is only going to be a little bit, right? For all you people that think that Antonio Brown is just going to be a little bit involved, you guys are crazy. I'm telling you right now. Listen, Antonio Brown remember when he came back in Tampa for his first game for New England, and everybody was like, I wonder if they're going to ease him in. Listen, he is going to be early and often. Okay, he's going to be used so much today. You have to remember when you go back and you look exactly what Antonio Brown did, and again, Antonio Brown, a year off, whether or not you believe it or not. Listen, Jenna said, "What's up, Jenna? Checking in." She says, "I bet he plays like 30 plays." Listen, he is. I'll tell you, I'm very excited for what Antonio Brown is going to do. Now, the interesting part is going to be today that we have not only Antonio Brown, but we have Chris Godwin, who is going to play today. So now today is going to be the time where we figure out how this whole dynamic is going to work from a fantasy football perspective. We have to find out exactly what's going to happen. Well, how many times he's going to be used, how many times is God going to be used. You have Mike Evans, you have Gronk, right? There's so many different scenarios to play out. But what I will say is I really, really think that no matter what happens,
Brady from the gun.
Antonio Brown is going to be productive. 100%. I mean, you see it right now. You see it right now. You see what he was able to do in his first game for New England. Okay? You see it. It's right in front of you. He opens up so much for the offense. And not to say that Tampa Bay couldn't open up, didn't need to be opened up, right? Tampa Bay has so many weapons on the offensive side of the ball that no matter what, he's going to be involved. So this is going to open up things even more. It's going to open up things even more. And catches like that right there is what Antonio Brown does. And again, you've seen the catch to Scotty Miller from Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. Okay, you've seen the touchdown. That's the kind of plays that we're going to see from Antonio Brown today. I fully expect that. Now, if you're an Antonio Brown owner and you were lucky enough, I'm telling you right now, I still would start him. I would start him because no matter what, he is going to be heavily involved. Now, we bring on the Michael Thomas subject, right? Because again, we have to look at both ends. We have to look at Michael Thomas and we have to look at Antonio Brown because a lot of people ask him, what do we do with Michael Thomas? Michael Thomas is going to play all the snaps that he can. I listen, I think last week, the main reason why that he was held out, okay, I don't think it's any secret. The main reason why he was held out, there was some conduct detrimental to the team. And it was a way of, classifying a new injury for them to say, okay, Michael Thomas is going to play this. Michael Thomas, you're going to see a different Drew Brees. You're going to see a different New Orleans Saints team. Okay, Michael Thomas is back. And Michael Thomas, in my opinion, not only will he play, and I know, listen again, this is 9:30, right? 9:30. So the early reports are that Michael Thomas is expected to play. He is expected to be active. So I'm going on that basis that I feel like Michael Thomas will be able to play. And I'm telling you right now that if Michael Thomas plays, look out because he is going to be extremely productive. He's been waiting for 8 weeks essentially to get back onto this field and show everybody that he is the guy that they paid. In his mind, there is no DeAndre Hopkins. In his mind, there is no DK Metcalf. Okay. In his mind, it's you can't guard Mike. It's Michael Thomas. It's him flexing. It's him being the number one receiver in football. He is going to show that because, listen, coming into the year, I completely said, and everybody understands that, I was a big Michael Thomas guy. I'm still a big Michael Thomas guy. He means so much to that offense is what I'm trying to tell everybody. He means a tremendous amount to that offense in New Orleans, and you've seen it, right? You've seen Alvin Kamara taking over, but right now when Michael Thomas comes back, look out. Now let's look at the quarterback position. There's a bunch of people that are worried about Josh Allen. And a couple people checked in last week and were worried about Josh Allen. Or, what can we expect from Josh Allen? Are we afraid? Listen, Josh Allen goes up against the Seattle Seahawks this week. And the Seattle Seahawks have not been playing very good defense. Okay. So the reason why everybody's worried about Josh Allen is because if you look over the past 4 weeks, he's only averaging 18 fantasy points per game. Okay. The first 5 weeks, he's averaging 35 fantasy points per game. What changed? Well, a couple things changed. People adjusted, right? This is the NFL. This is the NFL is a game of week to week scenarios. And teams, even though they weren't good, right? Tennessee adjusted. Kansas City adjusted. The New York Jets adjusted. New England adjusted. But the biggest thing that I will tell you is except for week 5, where he was only 51% completion rate. Okay. If you look at 5, 7, and 8, even though he didn't have a great fantasy game, he was still completing 65% of his passes. That is a good thing. That is something that you need to look for. Okay. And in those games, respectively, he was still running the ball. So these are the things that make Josh Allen that good. And this week he plays against a Seattle Seahawks team who, listen, doesn't really have the ability to stop anybody right now. So I would not worry about Josh Allen at all. I think Josh Allen 100% is still the guy you've seen in the first 5 weeks. Jenna's checking in, says, my last flex spot, do I want Jerry Jeudy, Justin Jefferson, or one of the Dallas runners? Man, this is tough. Okay. This is tough. Right now, I'm on the fence of I do not start anybody that plays in Big D right now, and that being in Dallas. That team right now is completely screwed up from the top to the bottom. And as far as Ben DiNucci not being an NFL caliber quarterback, that's one of the reasons why I cannot promote anybody to start on that team. You listen, even when Zeke Elliott was healthy and starting, he's getting 12 carries, 12. And they're just stacking like 9, 10 in a box because they know Ben DiNucci is not going to stop anybody. So I stay away from everybody in Dallas. In my opinion, 100%, I stay away from Dallas completely. Now, the interesting part is it Jeudy or is it Jefferson? I have been on the Jerry Jeudy wagon for the last couple of weeks. I think Jerry Jeudy is really starting to come into his own, and they're finally getting some decent quarterback play. Okay, which is very, very important. Drew Lock is starting to play pretty well. Now, I know it's only 1 week, but again, this is a kid. He's a second-year kid. He's got to get acclimated. He was hurt. He went out with the AC joint. He comes back. He's still learning, but he's got a really nice nucleus out there of receivers. He really does. And Jerry Jeudy, if you look over he's starting to become more involved, right? He has 10 targets last week, which is very important. Now he starts off the beginning of the year 8, 7, and 9. Then he goes 4, 5, 4. Now you can't blame that. There's no Drew Lock, right? There's no Drew Lock. So he's back on with the Drew Lock train. 4 catches last week, 73 yards. The biggest thing I like from Jerry Jeudy last week is the 18.3 average, right? The 18.3 average. In weeks 1 and 2, he's 14 and 15. So if he can continue on that 18 to 20 yards per average, it's kind of like an A.J. Brown symmetric, right? A.J. Brown was huge after the run, and that's what makes Jerry Jeudy that explosive. Jerry Jeudy was known for his explosion. Okay, he was supposed to complement Courtland Sutton this year. Let's not forget about that. He was supposed to complement Courtland Sutton, who goes out right? Who goes out for the year. So now he steps into that number one role. But he still has some nice talent around him. Tim Patrick has really stepped up. Noah Fant is a very, very good tight end. Melvin Gordon, good from the backfield, even out in the flat. So I think this makes Jerry Jeudy a very, very exciting option. So, and this week, this week, they go up against Atlanta. Atlanta, listen, defense, not that good. Now, let's look on the flip side, Jenna. Look at the number 2 receiver in Minnesota is Justin Jefferson. Now, to me, Justin Jefferson, very, very inconsistent. He's had 3 really good games. Actually, he's only had 2 really good games. Okay. He has 1 okay game and 4 really bad games. The problem with Justin Jefferson is he's boom or bust. He needs the big play in order to be productive. Right. Good morning, Philly. What's up, Mike? How you doing? He needs that big play to be productive. Jerry Jeudy is more of, and I'm not comparing him to Antonio Brown, but he's more of that Antonio Brown dynamic to where he's out in space, he's in the flat, he goes across the middle, yards after the catch. So I would go Jerry Jeudy on this one. I would start Jerry Jeudy against the Atlanta defense. Jenna says, if I lose, I'll blame you. That's okay. Jenna, everybody blames me, right? Good or bad. It's all good. I'm used to it. Not a problem. But no, seriously, I would literally start Jerry Jeudy. I would. I think Jerry Jeudy is a guy, like I told you, he's really starting to come up, and he can be used in so many different areas. Justin Jefferson it's going to be Adam Thielen or it's going to be Justin Jefferson, and then you got to rely on Kirk Cousins. And right now, I don't like Kirk Cousins at all. And you see what they were doing last week with Dalvin Cook. You're going to see more of that, right? You're going to see more of that going ahead. So that's just going to be less touches, okay, that Justin Jefferson gets, even though I think Justin Jefferson, NFL-wise, is the better overall receiver. I just think Jerry Jeudy has more to offer from a fantasy perspective right now. And if you look, because we like to look at DraftKings on this show, right? Justin Jefferson is looking at $6,100, right? Justin Jefferson is looking at $6,100, okay, going up against Detroit. And then, you have to look at, Jerry Jeudy, it's $4,700. Okay, 47. That's a $1,500 drop. That's something you really need to look at. And Jerry Jeudy's going up against the 28th ranked pass defense. Justin Jefferson, the 23rd ranked pass defense. So they're the things I look at. Okay, when I'm setting my lineups. Jenna says she needs Watson. Listen, I need Watson to be good too. Jenna, I need Watson to be 100%. He needs to be the man. And again, I said this before. A lot of people didn't understand, but Deshaun Watson is not having a bad fantasy year. He's a top 5 fantasy quarterback. People are not looking at that, and I don't know why. I think they're not looking beyond the stats, right? You have to look beyond the stats. And I think this week, Deshaun Watson will be fine. Jacksonville is not very good. 24th against the pass. Not a very good pass rush. I think that game's going to be really good. I do. I did it for a fantasy perspective. I think it's going to be, a high scoring game. Now, DFS, are you willing to pay $7,000 for Deshaun Watson? And if you look at it on the flip side, are you willing to pay $8,000 for Patrick Mahomes? So me personally, I definitely go Deshaun Watson at $7,100. It's $1,000 less that I can use for my other 2 positions. So that's what you have to look at. You have to look at that. And while we're on a DFS subject, let's look at some hidden values, excuse me, that could be there for DFS. Okay, maybe Matt Ryan. Maybe Matt Ryan at 6,400 at home against Denver, who's still trying to find their way a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. That's a matchup you can actually use. I like the other side of that too. I like Drew Lock. Drew Lock is one of my favorite starts of this week at $5,200. Okay, a nice bye week fill-in traditional fantasy leagues. This kid, 283, 3 touchdowns last week. He's just getting started. I'm telling you, he's just getting started. I got to run, but thanks as always. Absolutely, Jenna. Good luck today, and I'm sure we'll be hitting each other up on Twitter, finding out how good you did, which I love to do with all the followers because I like to know if I did good or bad. I mean, that's what it's all about. Do you want to do good or do you want to get bad? You get these firepower questions from people, and boom, you just got to be ready to roll. One thing, now forget, real quick, don't forget, this show goes to about 10-15. Okay, we go about 30-45 minutes depending on how many people join in. Okay, this is a quick early time to talk fantasy football. I know it's a Sunday morning. It's beautiful out. A lot of things going on today. A lot of people trying to get in what they can get in before football starts. I appreciate everybody checking in at Fox PHL Gambler, at Tikatolo23. Give them both a follow at Heat Ratio Sports, where you hear the Fantasy Firebox, as well as Fox Sports The Gambler. And again, keep it locked at 10:30. My boy Mark Drummeller. Listen, if you're not locked in on My Man X, you got to be there. My Man X just gives out winners. Listen, he breaks down games from a betting standpoint that I can only wish to be able to do. That's why I stick to what I know, which is fantasy. I don't even go in that world with Mark, because Mark is the guy that'll give you your parlays, he'll give you your best bets, and he'll give you what you need. So that's coming up at 10:30. So make sure you lock it in for there and you stay tuned. But let's look at this DFS, because I like to look at this every Sunday, because there's a lot of different values that you can look at. And I like to hear what everybody else is starting, because you got to go with that one lock. And seeing what Dalvin Cook did last week, it's very, and I never recommend starting guys at such a high value, but I know he's $8,200, which Christian McCaffrey, $8,500, be very, very careful with that number. Just my opinion. Be very, very careful. I don't know what they're going to do out there in Carolina. Christian McCaffrey, 100% is the guy. He will always be the guy. But if you're Matt Rule and you're Joe Brady and you see what you have in a guy like Mike Davis, there's no reason to think that they're not going to take it a little easier on Christian McCaffrey, knowing that they can put Mike Davis in and not miss a beat. They're going to want to keep him healthy. They're going to see Mac for the stretch run, right? For the stretch run of the season. That's what they're going to do. So I think they're going to give the ball to Mike Davis a little more than people expect. So that $8,500 number, I don't recommend at all. What I would recommend is a Dalvin Cook number at $8,200. Okay, Detroit, stopping the run, they can't. They're 32nd against the run. 32nd worst in the NFL. Last week, Dalvin Cook explodes. So I 100% would love Dalvin Cook at $8,200. I played Tyreek in all three of my leagues this week. He's a lock. Tyreek Hill. Here's the funny thing about Tyreek Hill, Jeff. And the funny thing is, last week I picked against Tyreek Hill only because I didn't expect that game to go like it did. I thought it was going to be a weird game. I didn't think they were going to be passing a lot. I thought they were going to get up early and they were going to kind of just run the ball out. So Tyreek Hill is such a boom or bust pick. Okay. Against Carolina, I will tell you that their secondary is not as horrible as people think. Here's what scares you about Tyreek Hill. He is boom or bust, but I'll tell you why. He has more recently found the end zone with ease, and I think that was the biggest problem with him over the last 2 years. I know you can't always bank on the touchdowns, but again, he only has 2 weeks where he hasn't scored. That's a big deal. So, I mean, he's averaging 60, 70 yards per game, but he has 8 touchdowns. Okay. He's averaging 18 to 20, depending on what kind of scoring system you have. So he's as good as automatic as anybody. So I agree. I think that's a lock as well. PP, this is a really good one. Okay. I love these kind of questions. Okay. Have Faith 251 second in. Jordan Howard or Gus Edwards. Now remember, Myles Gaskin not in the lineup, right? So Jordan Howard becomes the guy again. Mark Ingram not in the lineup. So now you have J.K. Dobbins or you have Gus Edwards. Who are they going to hand the ball to? This is a really, really good question. And it could go to it's so many different ways. I still think J.K. Dobbins is going to be the guy. And Indianapolis has a really, really good defense. Okay. They really do. So a couple things could happen here. Okay. And we're going to stick on Baltimore for a minute. J.K. Dobbins last week comes in, kind of breaks out. Okay. I think we all kind of predicted that. He gets 15 carries, 113 yards. His average is 7.5, but only gets 2 targets and 1 catch. So J.K. Dobbins is not going to be the guy to catch the ball. Okay. So if J.K. Dobbins gets stuffed, it's going to be more of Gus Edwards. And because they're going to rely on Gus Edwards more to be able to catch the ball out of the flat and to give that change up, because the Indianapolis Colts are playing really, really good on the defensive side of the ball. Now, when we talk about the Miami Dolphins, all right, this is a really, really good question because, again, Jordan Howard, we don't even know what to expect from Jordan Howard, right? I mean, this is a guy that looked really good, okay, but he's only averaging what, 4 attempts when he was healthy. Okay, he played the first 4 games of the season. Okay, his attempts go 8, 5, 3, and 2. But I will tell you that he scored 3 times in 3 weeks. It's going to be interesting because you don't know how the defense is going to line up against Tua. Okay, that's the one thing. You don't know how the defense is going to line up against Tua. So this is a really hard one for me. If I had to pick, just going with the opponent and going against what I kind of see, Arizona, I don't play. I think I would go Jordan Howard on this one. I do. I think I would start Jordan Howard. I think they're J.K. Dobbins again. J.K. Dobbins is the guy. And like I said, it could be a change up to where the defense kind of styles, the running game a little bit, and they have to go to Gus Edwards. But listen, J.K. Dobbins, you could tell. Here's, and again, have faith 251. Listen to this. And I look at DraftKings a lot to kind of do my analytics. So if you look at Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, they're $100 apart. So J.K. Dobbins at $4,900, Gus Edwards at $4,800. You know what that means? That means they have no idea who's going to be the better back, right? That's what that means. They have no idea who's going to be the better back. Okay, that's why I think you got to go with Jordan Howard. Okay, because at least Jordan Howard is going to get the lion's share of what's going on out there in Miami. So I think, again, you have to go with Howard. I think he's the guy 100%. And again, I look at everything in DraftKings kind of glasses on. He's $4,000. So he's $900 left. Okay. He's going to be the lead ball. Listen, he's going to be the lead ball guy. Okay. 100%. Matt Breida, he's out. Right. I already told you about Gaskins. He's out. He did sign a 2-year. He signed a 2-year, $5 per $1 million deal. So 2 years, $9.75 million. He's getting $5 million a year. They're going to want to see their investment. They're going to play Jordan Howard. So I definitely go with Jordan Howard. Jeff, what do you think about playing Ebron over? I'll tell you what, Jeff. Mark Andrews has been horrendous. We talked about this week. We're on a fantasy firebox, and I'm a big Ebron guy, especially with the way that offense is going out there. Mark Andrews has been highly disappointing. He really has. He started off really good, but he's starting to drop. I mean, Mark Andrews went from a $7,000 tight end in DraftKings to a $4,800 tight end. And not to mention, okay, my man Leonard out there, in Indianapolis, he's a tremendous linebacker. Okay, you have to really be careful against that defense. Okay, and you're talking about PPR. I mean, he has not been getting many catches at all. And they did activate Dez Bryant. And I'm not saying that Dez Bryant is going to be the guy, but I think it's going to take even more away from Mark Andrews. I mean, if you look at Mark Andrews, even from week 1, okay, again, this is his targets: 6'3", 3, 9, 4, 6, all over the map. His last 4 games, catch-wise, 3, 2, 6, and 3. Eric Ebron is definitely the better option right now in PPR, 100%. He's more consistent, I would say. The last 2 games, he's starting to step it up. Okay, 8 targets in week 7, 5 targets in week 8. Okay, but here's the thing. Here's what I like: his long cat, 22 and 18 for his long. Okay, which means even in a PPR league, even if he only gets you 5 catches, but if he gets you 70 yards, that's 12 points from your tight end position without even scoring a touchdown. So, Jeff, I like Eric Ebron, especially in a PPR league. I do. I think he's been he's definitely been explosive the last week or 2. And you're right, Jeff, he's killing you. Andrews is killing everybody. Anybody who drafted Mark Andrews early and held on to him, he's absolutely killing you right now, okay, because he's not producing based on what his preseason dictated. Andre says, no brain, Ebron is a better bet. Furthermore, he is a football player. Excuse me. They will look to get him the ball this week. Andre, again, couldn't agree with you more. The Heat Ratio Sports family has spoken right here on The Gambler today. Andre has been 100%, man. 100%. Yes, sir. I'm keeping Andrews on my bench today, Jeff. I think it's a good move. I hope it works out for you. I will tell you that Eric Ebron is my starting tight end this week in both of my leagues in traditional and DFS. I am in on Eric Ebron. I do think that Ben is going to look to him a lot today against a Dallas squad that is deplorable. Now, I know they have Jalen Smith and they have Kyle Vander Esch, but I think what's going to happen is you're going to have Vander Esch is going to be more concentrated on trying to stop the run in James Conner. And I think that Jalen Smith is going to be more concentrated on rushing the passer in a 38-year-old Ben Roethlisberger. So I predict that it's going to be a middle of the field, up the seam. It's going to be open. And again, that Dallas team to me has given up. So I 100% am all in on Eric Ebron this week. Stick with the tight end position. I think there's some really good finds in the tight end position. I know I mentioned Denver with Drew Lock. I'm going to mention Noah Fant again. Noah Fant at 4,600. He's 26th, or he's going up against a 26th ranked pass defense against tight ends in fantasy. He's averaging double-digit points every week. Here's what I will say. Whenever you look at your DFS lineups, if you're playing DFS, look at guys who are giving you double-digit point production at a low value. They're the guys that are most likely getting ready to pop off, especially against a really good exploited defensive matchup. So that's what you have to look at. Okay. So right off the bat, even guys like Daniel Fells, Jacksonville, very bad defense. Daniel Fells is the number one tight end option for the Houston Texans. Okay, they come off a bye. They're going to be well rested. They're ready to roll. He's averaging 1 point less than those double digits, but he's only $4,200. $4,200. I'm telling you right now, Daniel Fells scores a touchdown today. He will. Evan Ingram is another guy, the tight end position, going up against Washington. Underrated defense, but you've seen how much they used Evan Ingram last week against Tampa Bay. They got him involved a lot. So as long as a runner and as a pass catcher, and even as a thrower. So they're trying to get their number one weapon, which we all know is Evan Ingram, as he's healthy, more involved in this offense. Jason Garrett is calling his number a lot. So for $4,300, I think that's a really, really good find. We had another question coming in. Thoughts on, man, I like Tim Patrick. I really do. And again, I know we talked about Jerry Jeudy earlier. I really like Jerry Jeudy. Now, the one thing he does have, the questionable tag, because he did have the hamstring injury. Okay, I think he will be playing. I do. You have to be very, very careful. I say this all the time. Soft tissue injuries are tough. Whenever you're talking about a groin or a hamstring, you just never know what to expect. So again, Tim Patrick having a really, really good underrated fantasy year start coming alive in week 3. Okay, that week 3, 4, and 6, he was really, really good. But then he goes out. He's questionable right now. Goes out with a hamstring early in that game. But last week he only had 4 for 44 because of the injury. But the week before, you're talking about 101 and 113. I mean, this kid and a touchdown. He's shown he's the big receiver, right? Jerry Jeudy's the fast guy. Tim Patrick is the big receiver going up to get the ball, sideline catches. I like Tim Patrick against a very poor Atlanta defense, but what I will say is be very careful. Watch up the game time. Be careful and watch that soft tissue injury. You really, really have to watch them because you never know. You never know how that's going to creep up, especially during the game. So what I will say is if your only option is Tim Patrick, then as long as he drops a questionable tag and he is active at noon, I would play him. But if you have a better option or even an option that's kind of, a wash, what I mean by that is maybe a guy that you're expecting the same production, I would go with the other guy just in case, only because I don't like those soft tissue injuries. They scare me to death, especially when you're paying a lot of money in these leagues, man. A lot of monies. One guy I think's going to come out today and go on fire is Will Fuller. Will Fuller heard his name again in trade talks. He heard his name because, listen, he's another guy who needs to be paid next year. And he sees what happened to DeAndre Hopkins. He's seen it didn't want to pay DeAndre. Did they trade DeAndre in the sense that they know they're going to pay Will Fuller? Or is this team going to be a complete rebuild from that kind of position where they just keep guys like Brandon Cooks, right? And they hope to draft a better receiver and maybe sign. We don't know, but one thing for sure, William Fuller is auditioning for his next team. That's what he's doing. And that next team doesn't have to be the Houston Texans. It could be the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? So he's going to be auditioning for the NFL in these last 7 to 8 weeks. So Deshaun Watson will make sure that he is. Listen, Deshaun Watson doesn't want to lose him, but he also knows that's his number one weapon. So I think Will Fuller explodes today. I really do. And I think that right now, if you can get Will Fuller at a $6,800 price, I think it's a guy I pull the trigger on. I do. A couple questionable guys you have to look out for. Let's look out. We have Keenan Allen. Okay, this is questionable. He had, he tested negative for COVID. It's going to be a continued, it's going to be a fluid situation. I mean, this is coming from 9 a.m. 9 a.m. this morning, he tests negative. So will they allow him to play? Will he play? Okay, and if he plays, get him in the lineup because, again, this isn't a soft tissue injury. This is just a COVID testing issue. Now, Calvin Ridley, he's been in and out, in and out, in and out. I would stay away from Calvin Ridley. I would. He's got the foot injury. The Falcons say they aren't optimistic. He's going to be able to play. The newest update hasn't come out yet. So I think we have to. We basically have to plan for no Calvin Ridley in the lineup today, which is only going to boost the value for Julio Jones, Hayden Hurst, Russell Gage. Okay, maybe even a Brian Hill sighting, okay, out of the backfields. But, they're going to make up those catches somewhere. And obviously, if you spread them out between the rest of the offensive weapons of Atlanta, I think you can really get production there. Here's another question coming in. Do we take Henry Ruggs or Zach Moss? Or keep Tim Patrick? Wow, man, I'm getting hit hard this morning. That's a really, really good question. Henry Ruggs, I like Ruggs. I just don't think he's consistent enough. Obviously, you're looking for the long haul here. If you look at what Henry Ruggs has done, he's only gotten 2 catches over the last 3 weeks per week, 2, 4, 6, that's 6 total. And for the year, he has no higher than 3. So I don't trust Henry Ruggs except for a DFS flyer. Okay, I really don't. So I wouldn't even look at Henry Ruggs. Zach Moss is the intriguing option to me. Okay, Zach Moss to me has solidified himself. Okay, as that number 1 back. Okay, Devin Singletary has played well, but not enough. Not enough for me. Okay, and you see, listen, it broke out last week. Okay, and I think what's happening is, every now and then with rookie running backs, especially, listen, Sean McDermott is a hell of a head coach out there in Buffalo. But what he does is he sides with the veteran. You've seen that with Frank Gore. And not to say Singletary's a veteran, but he's not a first-year player, right? He's not a first-year player. So I think he sees the limitations of Devin Singletary in a sense that Devin Singletary is more of a number 2 guy than a number 1 guy. And I think when they drafted Zach Moss, all along they knew he was going to be the number 1 guy. But they want to let him get his feet wet. They want to work on ball control, work on pass protection, learn the playbook, and not all of a sudden push Devin Singletary to the side. And I think it's going to become more of a split. So last week, after Devin Singletary gets the first 5 or 6 touches in the game, Zach Moss gets 14. Okay, gets the next 14. And what does he do with those touches? He averages 5.8 yards per carry and scores 2 touchdowns. More of Zach Moss this week. Okay, again, going up against Seattle. See, and this isn't the Legion of Boom anymore. They have no pass rush. They have nothing in the middle. Okay, and their secondary is greatly depleted. So this is a defense that's going to give up points. All you have to do is go back and watch what Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds did against them 2 weeks ago on the Sunday Night Football stage. Okay, that's all you need to do. And then you can see how much they're susceptible to the running attack. So honestly, to answer your question, I would go Zach Moss. I would take Zach Moss 100% over Tim Patrick and Henry Ruggs. I think that is a complete no-brainer, man. 100% complete no-brainer. I really, really like Zach Moss this week. And if we stick on a running back position, we got about 10 minutes left. How about that I know everybody was kind of like on, excluding myself, was on the Lev Bell wagon last week. We thought that was going to be a week he broke out. It didn't happen. They threw more than they ran, which I thought was really weird. But again, I said it was going to be a weird game. But one guy this week, Lev Bell against Carolina, the 31st against the run. When we talk about, fantasy football, even in the NFL, at $5,100, I think this is the week that Lev Bell in Kansas City finally, takes at least half of those touches away from CEH, and I think he has a productive game. One intriguing name I want to talk about is DJ Dallas. DJ Dallas comes in as a starting running back for the Seattle Seahawks. No Carlos Hyde. No Chris Carson, right? We don't have Chris Carson. We don't have Hyde. We don't have any of those guys, right? So again, no Hyde, no Carson. You have DJ Dallas and Travis Homer. They don't really like Homer as the main guy. They like DJ Dallas. Now, he did only get 2.3 yards per carry, okay? But he had 23 fantasy points. You know why? He had 5 catches for 17 yards. So what that tells you is that they fully believe that DJ Dallas can be a bell cow back. So if you start DJ Dallas, you don't have to worry about Travis Homer. Okay, except for a change of pace guy. So DJ Dallas is the guy. He's getting the catches and he's getting the rushing attempts. So that's what you want to see. So again, at a $5,000 salary in DraftKings, I really like him on DraftKings. I like him in traditional as well. I think he can really do some really good business this week. Do I start Singletary in a flex over? Man, these Singletary, Moss, Patrick. This is an interesting one. Do you start Singletary over Tim Patrick? Here's the thing. Again, really bad rush defense in Seattle. Okay. This is what I will tell you. Really, really bad rush defense. The thing is, we're looking at a 50-50 split between Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. The one thing I can tell you is, even though Singletary didn't score and hasn't scored, his yards per carry have been going up the last 2 weeks. So what that means to me is that I think he gets at least one goal line opportunity to score at Seattle. I do. I think he gets one big play, and I think that's the one big play that maybe Tim Patrick may not get because of the limitations of a hamstring injury. I like Tim Patrick a lot, okay? And sometimes these kind of things burn you with these decisions, but I will say is I would rather go down with a healthy player than go down with the guy who had a lot of question marks. So I think I would go Singletary in that spot. You say you have Tim Patrick, Slayton, and Corey Davis. Woo, man. Corey Davis has been on fire recently. Everybody jumping back on the Corey Davis wagon, right? Corey Davis has been nothing but electric over the last couple of weeks. Last week again, the big thing about Corey Davis is the targets, okay? Since he's come back again, we all got excited. Right? First game, 8 catches, 101 touchdowns. We all got excited. Then he gave us like a flop the next week, but he did score, right? He had 3 for 36 and a touchdown. Then he gets, goes to Minnesota, doesn't score, 5 for 69. He's still double digits. One thing about Corey Davis is he's still double digits. Okay, but the last 2 weeks, he's got 20 targets, which means they're really starting to look Corey Davis's way. Because you know why? He's the recipient of A.J. Brown's double teams. And again, as long as A.J. Brown continues to excel, they're going to give that over-the-top coverage for A.J. Brown, leaving Corey Davis the guy for everybody to beat. Corey Davis's routes have gotten a lot crisper this year. Corey Davis's mind is a lot better. And I'll tell you what, he's very, very talented. And he knows how to get open in space. And he knows what to do after the catch. Last week, 16.0 yards per catch average. That's huge. The week before he goes out, only 5.8, but that was a weird game. But he still got 10 targets. So I would start Corey Davis. I would. Chicago's got a very good defense. I get it. But out of those guys, I can't trust Slayton. I can't, because you don't know. I can't trust Slayton. And Tim Patrick, again, coming off a soft tissue injury. That's a hard one. So Humphrey's out as well, so more targets. Exactly. That's a great thing. He's facing top. Right. Listen, Kyle Fuller, I get it, right? We know that they have the top one of the top defenses in the secondary because of the way they play. It's not the top, it's one of the top. They play hard. But Corey Davis is the kind of player that I don't think that bothers. Okay, that bothers more A.J. Brown than it does Corey Davis, and I'll tell you why. Corey Davis does more X and Y runs, okay, which means he's going across the middle in those mesh routes. He's not going up the seam. Okay, he's not going over the top. Corey Davis is the guy that's going to give you that quick slant, the quick out, the wide receiver screen. They're the kind of things that are going to go to Corey Davis. So when you're going up against a top DB, I'll give you an idea real fast. Listen to what happened in Seattle. You listen. You bring up right here with Jared Cook. With Tyler Lockett. Remember what Tyler Lockett happened against Arizona. Tyler Lockett exploded. Why did he explode? Because Patrick Peterson was 1-on-1 with DK Metcalf. Okay. And why did DK Metcalf not explode? Because DK Metcalf is more of the up the field kind of guy, for his routes. Tyler Lockett is both. He's more up and open over the top and across the middle catch and run. Okay, so that's what I would think is going to happen in Chicago. I think A.J. Brown gets shut down a little more. I think Corey Davis excels. You say I'm starting Adams, Lockett, Beasley, Jared Cook, DJ Dallas, Lindsey. Would you start Hollywood? No, I would not start Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown to me is not a fantasy option right now. We talked about this week on the Fantasy Firebox. I know people are expecting him, to come out and do better, but listen, he is so inconsistent. You cannot listen. This guy has done nothing. He really 5.5, 2, 4, 6, 4, 1. I can't trust the guy. I can't. I know he scores every now and then, but I just can't. I can't trust Hollywood Brown until I see more consistency. Okay, it's something's going on in Baltimore in the passing game. We don't know what it is right now, but until I see more consistency, I can't start Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. I can't even start him against a really good Indianapolis defense. So for me, I wouldn't do it. I need a replacement for him then. Again, who do you have? Is there somebody? Would you replace him? So you're asking, would you replace him with Slayton, Singletary, Patrick, or Cooper? Man. I honestly, it's Slayton or Singletary. I would replace him with. I can't trust Patrick with the injury. I can't do it. He just scares me. Those soft tissue injuries just scare me. I'll tell you, I like Singletary. I like the entire backfield right now for the Buffalo Bills this week against Seattle. I think they're going to force Josh Allen to make some really interesting decisions, and I think he's going to run the ball a little more. I think it's going to open up. He's going to take some runs, going to open up that defense. So I would start Singletary. I think Singletary is a better start right now over Tim Patrick, over Amari Cooper, and over Darius Slayton. I think all three of those guys, again, the injury factor from Patrick. Cooper, I still think you cannot start anybody from the Dallas Cowboys until they prove that they can play. And Darius Slayton, he's just too inconsistent with me. Singletary is consistent 10 to 12 a week, and if he gets you a touchdown, he's going to take you to 20. So I really think that's the way to go. Again, look at the wide receiver before we close this out. Let's look at some interesting, matchups. Oh, and I'll tell you what, before I get out of here, in my opinion, Chase Edmonds this week, lock, 100% stud, absolute stud this week. Chase Edmonds, get him in your lineup. If he's not in your lineup, you have to get him in your lineup, man. I have J.D. McKissick as well. I still would go with Singletary because I like McKissick for getting out in the flat. I do like it. Like you say, how about McKissick? Here's the thing, with McKissick, you just don't know how many touches he's going to get. Singletary is going to give you at least 14 to 15. It's going to be a complete split between him and Moss. And he is giving you double digits every single week. McKissick is on the field on third down. They really like Antonio Gibson. He's been doing very well. I just don't think McKissick gives you the volume. So I have to go volume with this. When we talk about fantasy, I always go in things at volume, right? I'm in a half-point PPR. So, again, I think that still leans me towards Singletary because even if you get 5 catches from McKissick, he's getting 2.5 points, right? So you're only getting 2.5 points for those catches. And obviously, you're getting yards. But Singletary, I think, has more of a chance to score. And I think that's what we have to look at this week. That gives you that +6 right off the bat, puts you ahead. So I would definitely do, yeah, absolutely. Appreciate. Listen, I appreciate it as always. Follow the page at, follow the accounts at Ticatil23, at Fox PHL Gambler, at Heat Ratio Sports, YouTube, Twitch. Follow that name everywhere, man. I appreciate the support. Last question. Think Mike Evans can be productive this week? Yes. Mike Evans will be productive. Listen, I really expect that Tampa Bay team to explode. It's going to be very interesting. We talked about that right in the beginning with the Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin's healthy. You have Gronk playing well. Now you have Mike Evans playing 100%, who looks to be the complete red zone target for Tom Brady. I think Mike Evans 100% will be productive. I can't listen. This is going to be like a 35 to 40 point game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, okay? Say what you want, but that's what's going to happen. Antonio Brown's, listen, you're going to see the highlights. Antonio Brown, he's going to get you 5 catches, 60 yards, but he's going to score. I'll tell you, he's going to score. So if you get 1 for AB, say you get 1 for Gronk and 2 for Evans, that's 4 touchdowns. That's 28 points. And 1 will throw in there for good measure that Chris Godwin gets on the map. That's 5 TDs. Listen, if these guys are all healthy, we're watching another greatest show on turf, just like we watched back in the day with the Rams, with Marshall Faulk in the backfield. That's what the only thing that they're missing. But with Azeem, with Torrey Holt, with Isaac Bruce, they were virtually unstoppable. So again, I'm going to end on that. It's fantasy football week number 9. Is it Tua time today? I hope it is. Listen, he only gave me 75 yards last week, but here's the thing. Everybody with Tua, right? Just be careful. They dumbed down the playbook for him a little bit. Not that he didn't know it. They just didn't want him to make mistakes. He didn't throw an interception. Right? He fumbled once, but he got killed. He got destroyed. Okay. He was going up against the Aaron Donald defensive front, and they just had no answer. Okay. But he did throw for 93 yards. He almost hit 100. He completed 55% of his plays. It was a really nice throw to Devontae Parker. Okay. He threw a touchdown. His rating was 80%, but he didn't run much. And that's what I think you have to look at. He didn't run much. He only had 2 attempts. Okay, and those 2 attempts were kind of getting away. Okay, so I think he didn't want to come in and run. So I think that this week, I think that he does more of Tua. Okay, more of Tua-esque is what we're talking about, right? So I think he runs more with the rock. I think they open it up a little bit more. Exactly. You say, no Gaskin, no real game script. I'm rolling with Tua. I will roll with Tua as well. I have him in one of my leagues. I started him last week. I'm going to start him again. Jordan Howard. I think this will be the 150-yard game we expect. I can expect like a Lamar Jackson game. You throw for about 150. You throw for a couple of touchdowns maybe, but you also rush for like 70 and maybe score as well. So I think Tua will have a really good game this week. Andre, going to be a 2 100-yard. Oh, absolutely. Choose wisely. Who will they be? Listen, 2 100-yard wide receivers today for Tampa. Okay, one of them is going to be Antonio Brown. I fully believe it. I fully believe that Antonio Brown is coming in week 1 back, just like he did with New England. This is week 1 for him. He wants to shut everybody up. Tom Brady wants to shut everybody up. Tom Brady wants to show that he can take a guy like Antonio Brown and be productive. I'm telling you, if I had to choose 2, I'm going to go Mike Evans and I'm going to go Antonio Brown. I think Chris Godwin, he's coming back from injury. Ease him back in, but I think those 2 guys go over 100. It's going to be a big game in Tampa Bay. Listen, everybody, thanks for everybody checking in today. Tons of comments, tons of views. We absolutely love it. Getting you ready for Fantasy Football Week 9. Again, hit me up on Twitter at Ticatil23, at Fox PHL Gambler. Let me know how you did. Let me know what your picks were doing. Let me know who the big guy is on your team, who was the bust. We'll recap again maybe later tonight. Maybe we'll go halftime, see how everybody did. But again, as always, keep it locked here all day, taking you up till game time. Next, follow my man, Mark Drumheller. The guy will give you the bets, the parlay work that you need in order to get that winning ticket. So keep it locked in on this channel, courtesy iHeartRadio at Fox Sports The Gambler. Follow again at Ticato23, my personal account, at Heat Ratio Sports. That's where we do the fancy firebox, as well as Fox PHL Gambler. Everybody have a fantastic fantasy football week. Everybody stay safe and stay healthy, like I always say. Enjoy the beautiful weather outside before the kickoff, and then enjoy your fantasy football matchup.